Member Joyner,
Present.
Board Member Morris,
Here.
Board Member Bronte.
Here.
Board Member Smith.
Present.
Great.
Okay, did everybody get a chance to read the minutes of Logan sent to us?
Yes, thank you for that, Logan. I will make that.
Can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
I will make that.
Can I get a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Yeah.
Admin point, Mr. Logan?
Yep, so I'm gonna do a quick recap of our property disposition meeting. I'm just gonna run through it really quick so we all are, on the same ground.
Mhm.
So 3 properties, 238 Columbia, that's 3,000 square feet. It is on page 37 of your appraisal. It is zoned R4, which is 3-story multi-res district. It is appraised at 75 grand. That's the first property. Second property is 614, should have State, and 1 Lombard Street. Multiple parcels, all as one property. That is 13,746 square feet, so much bigger. That is zoned commercial, residential commercial district. So that's, to my knowledge, a wider sort of zoning option. That was appraised at $270,000. And that's kind of right by Kite's Nest. The third property is 7 to 9 Mill / 13 to 17 Mill Street. No appraisal was done on that, and I will kind of show us why. So this is from the appraisal. Upon further investigation, it was discovered that the parcels on 9 Mill Street and New Road and 13 to 17 Mill Street don't have road frontage and therefore are not developable. These parcels are accessible via roadway that was never developed. It would make the most sense for the city to turn over the land that was a roadway to these parcels to give them frontage on State Street. We were advised not to appraise these parcels at the time, so they are removed from this assignment. So what that is basically saying is there's no road frontage. You can't develop a property without road frontage. The city owns that frontage. So we don't have a number, but if you look on the map, it's probably a little bit smaller, but roughly the size of the larger property. That second property that was 13,000 square feet. So those are the 3 properties. We went over at our property disposition meeting, the 3 options to sell the property. If you were going to sell the properties, open auction, closed bid auction, or negotiated sale with another government entity. The board, the property dispossession board, their recommendation was to keep ownership, so not sell it, and do a RFP for a development partnership. So request for proposing a development partner to develop the land in collaboration. That way, the idea, I think, was to kind of keep money coming into Hcdpa. And that was a recommendation for all, well, for the first 2 properties. The third one, without the road frontage, we would need to talk to the city and kind of find a solution there.
In other words, that would be a win-win situation where the HCP is still getting money because we're renting the land. They're developing the land and they're paying us for, they're going to be paying us and doing some of the things that we see fit as a organization
And as our mission.
and as our mission.
So I'm just unclear on this option of the city doing RFP for developer.
Yeah.
So the city would still own the property, correct?
I think that was the idea that the committee was under, that they would still own the property, but it would be
No,
a
the
long-term.
HBCD would still
Yeah, that's what I mean. Sorry, not the city.
take the city.
And then it would be a long-term, signed partnership with a development partnership. And I also,
And then, so what kind of development are we talking about?
That would be up to the board. In other words, we would partner with a developer to do
Multifamily.
multifamily,
Maybe
moderate
first-time
income, first-time
ownership.
home ownership, yeah.
so yeah, and we need to think about this as the 2 different properties. One's 13,000 square feet, multi.
What, that was on State Street?
Yeah, so that was 16 to 14 State and 1 Lombard. The other one is only 3,000 square feet. It is 238 Columbia. So
So it's.
it's just the, the
It would
property. multifamily
You
unit.
could do an infill housing
Yeah.
thing there for one family.
Yeah, or it could be a couple apartments, multiple stories, but you couldn't really do anything that crazy right there. And also, so I kind of sent this information and recommendations after the meeting to Chris, and she kind of talked to me. Chris, I can quote you, or you can kind of explain it to the board, how, if they wanted to follow through on that recommendation, how they would go about it and what kind of plans they would need to follow.
So Chris, before you speak to that, can you-
She's muted, but she's talking.
one of the concerns that I have is, Hcdpa as a landlord. To me, this sounds kind of messy, and, I don't know, I think that that's not a straightforward situation.
We have limited administration to
Exactly.
do that sort of thing.
Right,
Well,
we're not
we're property owners.
exactly.
We're landowners, but not landlords.
Right, we don't wanna manage it,
That's right.
we don't need to know who's going in it, we don't need to, nothing.
Manage
We
it.
want to rent our land and we wanna keep income coming in forever for Hcdpa.
Maybe Chris can explain, she said she was talking.
Right,
No, I was going to respond to Logan's question, which I thought was about, he had asked me about the properties that require the city to take some action to abandon or vacate that road area.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't have any special knowledge about that particular area. I think we'd have to talk to the city about what their, need is for that, which would, I think, involve DEP and probably also whoever is responsible for disposition of the tax parcels. Maybe, do you have somebody at the city who's managing that disposition of other parcels? Because, is it just the city attorney that's working with the city on that?
Those are things we're gonna have to figure out.
yeah.
We don't know. The other thing, Chris, when you're talking about reaching out to a development partnership, you mentioned that they'd have to kind of align with the comprehensive plan and identify documents that will guide the development of the designated parcels. If you could talk about what limitations that Hcdpa would be under if they were to pursue a development partnership like the one that the committee has talked about for the first two properties that don't have that frontage issue.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I don't think that you have, we don't have an active redevelopment plan, right? Those have all expired except as to the continuing covenants that affect existing properties. So this is surplus property. If you want to do a development, you'd have to consider adopting, an extension or amendment or whatever of the plans for development and identify the purpose, of that. Is it for single family? Is it for multifamily? What's the scope of what you're doing? And I would think that the board would want to be guided by the city's comp plan, because that is something that is in development. And certainly, Hcdpa is always supposed to communicate with the planning board and with the applicable city plans for area development, right? So those are things that you'd want to refer to if you were going to set up an RFP for development, you'd have to look at those constraints. You wouldn't necessarily say to a developer, do whatever you feel like, right? You'd have to figure out what's consistent with your mission and that what do you want to see, happen there and what's consistent with the city's, overall plans for the city as a whole. Right?
Chris, just from a practical perspective, I mean, this is like a leasehold arrangement, right? So a developer would invest in, let's say they're doing a multi-family home on one of these lots. So the developer is investing in that, but the Hcdpa still owns the land.
I mean,
Why
that's possible. I don't know that would be, you'd have to sort of find out whether that would be market acceptable.
Right, but see, what I'm not understanding here is Hcdpa retaining ownership of the land and expecting a developer to develop it. I don't see that that's practical, because why would a developer do that if they were not going to give the opportunity to purchase the land? It doesn't seem practical to me.
Unless
Right,
it's
that's
a
what
land
I'm
bank,
saying, it's
right?
a leasehold arrangement.
Yeah.
But as a developer, why would I sink, endless amounts of money into something in a leasehold agreement?
Well, yeah,
It's
and,
not uncommon. No.
and lots of things are not practical and become practical, like,
Sorry?
lots of things are not practical, but you can make it happen, right? Because you think it's not practical doesn't mean a developer isn't. That's the whole point of putting an
Well, that's
RFP
why,
out to
that's
see
why,
who's gonna
that's my
fight.
question.
Who's
That's
gonna
right.
fight on it? My thing, Chris, I know that you said that, we wanna reach out to the city and the planning board. I think that that's the reason why this board is about. We have the mayor, we have the planning board chair, housing authority chair, council members. I really think that's the whole flow of this committee, of this board and everything that's going, you know what I mean? I feel
No,
like we're all-
I understand, but you actually have operative documents like the comprehensive plan that govern what the city does and what you do. So I think that particularly because that is in play, you need to actually review those documents and be aware of what they say.
Yeah,
And, and if you haven't already had input in those documents, I'm assuming that you've reviewed those in your with other hats and had input in the affordable housing aspects of those and development aspects of those plans, right?
So in terms of, look at what Margaret said in terms of a developer, putting a property on land they don't own. The experience that I've had in that regard is when Coart leased the land from the hospital, and they put a building on it. And they've had it for, 25 years or whatever. When they went to sell it, no one wanted to buy it. Right? Because they don't want to buy a property. The only option they had to do was to sell it back to the hospital at a reduced price. Right? So I think that, I don't know, unless it's a land bank, right? Unless it's a land bank status, like what Spark was talking about doing, things like that. I don't see how a developer is going to own a building without owning the property.
I mean, leasehold is very common in England and Ireland, particularly in England. And there are so many issues with owning a leasehold property. They're exactly what you're describing. And I also don't understand.
For Dunn Warehouse, what we're doing is kind of like the
I
same
thought
thing.
that followed the property.
Well, we put out a new RFP because we had a lot of interest, so,
But
but that, it could be the same.
yeah, that was.
And something, and it's also something that we're trying.
Right.
That, we have tried other things that have failed. So this is also something that's being tried. So if you don't try, you really don't know.
Okay, so let me.
And that's what I'm trying to put apart, that we came together to come up with a situation that we're going to try. Now, if it doesn't work, we can always revise it, but we have to try before we know. Like when you tried what you did before, it didn't work. So we're not gonna go and do that again, because we're gonna move on to something like that.
Yes.
So
I think the Dunn Warehouse, though,
that's a very different situation.
I mean, there's already a partnership there, and I think after a certain, isn't the same thing, Mary, after a certain time frame, it comes back to the city anyway?
Well, the city owns it.
Right, the city owns it, but they're gonna pay, they're gonna lease
But
it.
They at least,
The RFP that we got and that we all signed on to, the entity that was going to do that has withdrawn. So now it's up in the air.
yeah, but that, it was similar. The city
But
owns
it's
it.
a slightly different situation. It's a slightly different situation. If you're talking about building, one family, whatever, housing, I have to have some reason to do that, to get some return on my investment. And these properties are properties that the housing authority passed on because they didn't think they were viable for whatever development they wanted to do. So why would it be attractive to a developer to do this agreement rather than just purchase the land and do their own development? And I don't see what, other than saying we're going to get money in perpetuity by leasing it, I'm not really sure what the advantage to Hcdpa is. I don't really see it.
And we don't
There's
have,
a big advantage.
It's either or.
we don't have the luxury though to hold this property without getting revenue, right? I mean,
Yeah.
either we have to sell this or what,
Yeah.
so we don't have that luxury to wait 5, 6, 10 years because we're not gonna have any money.
Right, but we should sell it.
So, I mean, I think that there's a couple properties, I think, that are ideal for developers that would be interested, right?
Right.
So I think we should do the RFPs for those properties that are the bigger ones. They're in key areas, right? The one down by, right? And then the other one on Front Street. Okay, so we're not-
Are you suggesting that we should sell them?
No, I think we should, well, yes, develop, we'll get the option, I mean, even if we get the option, right? The lease or buy, right? I mean, give the developer that choice, what they want to do. Right? We don't have to do both, either, or. I mean, we can just give the option in the RFP.
Okay, so the committee came up with the option of just doing an RFP, so I think we should put that on the floor for a vote. You know, because we can debate this left and right. You know, we did come up, we discussed it, we thought that, and you know, I understand that.
We will not lose anything if no one doesn't bite on this RFP, period.
And I just want
We
to
had no money, this agency had no money until the sister agency, HHA, decided to come in and purchase properties that were sitting there for a long time. We gave a lot of money to a dying agency. So there's nothing to lose at this point.
Why did the HHA not want to develop these? What do they cost?
It wasn't attractive enough for
Why
us.
not?
It just wasn't, we couldn't build it. We wanted to build multi-families on it, and on the 238 one, we weren't doing first-time home ownership, so they were only looking at it as this would be a first-time home ownership type of property. We weren't interested in that. It was small. We weren't interested in it. The other one, it had so much work to be done to it, with digging, knocking out all the trees down, all the work that had to be done to it. The developer that we got with Malco was just not interested in it.
And it was a lot of work you were gonna be doing.
And it would have held us up longer. It would have held us up longer with those sites. So that's why we passed those ones.
And I just want to be clear on the recommendation. So we're talking about the first two properties that, we own with frontage that are developed now. We could develop now. The third one where we don't have frontage, we have to engage the city to go through some kind of process. So that one,
Only to the city that we.
yeah, there's some sort of process before we would be able to do an RFP. Yeah, I just want that sort of clarity.
Well, we have two options. Partner with the city, sell it to the city, or buy the other part from the city. So there's the options for that property. Right? That's
Well,
only
sometimes
the
they
option.
partner with the city,
That's the only option.
not try to buy.
So I think at this point, Chris, we would just have to get a motion to put an RFP for the two properties to put forward.
Shouldn't we have an RFP to review and then vote?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. we're
Yeah,
gonna
why
be-
doesn't the committee come up with an RFP and then we can vote on whether or not we want to accept that RFP? I don't think you need a vote from us to put together an RFP.
The other thing, as Chris mentioned, it may be wise when we're developing this RFP to have those documents and have reviewed them.
Yeah.
So the next sort of committee meeting can be to start to develop the RFP,
Yeah.
to overview those documents, to make sure, that RFP is in line with those documents. And then present that RFP, I guess is the feeling I'm getting.
Okay.
But I don't want to direct any.
No,
You guys comfortable
we
with
can
that?
do that, we're comfortable with that.
Well,
Well, I'm not.
you got-
Give an
you
HHA.
got experience, right?
With the RFP, the board wasn't allowed to be involved with the RFP, only the executive director and the councils were. We voted on it, but we were not allowed to be a part of the RFP process. So I'm not sure how that works on this board. I've never worked on an RFP. We only voted on it. We weren't allowed. When we first did an RFP, the board did it, and HUD reached out to us and let us know that it's not allowed. So that's why the first RFP we put out was taken down and ended, and then the executive director, Jeff, and our council did an RFQ and we just voted on it. We weren't allowed to be a part of the.
So who
RFP.
developed the RFP?
Our council.
Okay.
Chris, do we have restrictions if we want to do it because we own the property, you know, and we're a board? We have restrictions to do an RP?
Oh, you're muted, sorry.
I don't know what happened in the HHA situation. There are certainly, requirements for how to do an RFP. And so, certainly it would, usually an RFP would be developed by, council or whatever, but I would think that the policy development constraints should be coming, the policy development should come from the board. The direction about what the purposes and uses of the property are and that sort of thing should be coming from the board, not council. Council is, we're able to create a form, right? And what the response structure is and all of that kind of thing.
So we're talking about the RFP right now.
We could also do a RFI, and that, like, we put out there and then have people come to us and tell us what they think they could do with the land.
Right.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that sounds good.
So is that something that the property acquisition committee, committee does to come up with?
Yeah, you could do you could work on an RFI, have Chris
We're asking,
formalize it and then bring it to
Chris.
full board.
okay, Chris, that question is for you.
Chris, so the property acquisition committee can work on the RFI, that there's no conflict.
I'm not aware that there would be.
No.
Again, I'm not looking for the board to draft, all of the text. I'm just suggesting that there are some policy considerations and direction that is needed before we go off and draft something. And just as you say, Mayor, what is the type of document? What is the type of arrangement that you're looking for? Right. What are the, what are the, pardon me?
I was just saying an RFI makes more sense to me than an RFP. Because these properties have been passed on by the housing authority. As was just noted, the larger one, there's a lot of work needs to be done before it can be developed. And I think getting information from potential developers about their interests would also, like when we did the Dunn warehouse, for example, some people wanted to purchase. The entity that we ended up choosing wanted to do a lease arrangement, so we got them to give us both a purchase proposal and a lease proposal and so forth. And so I think that needs more flexibility than just doing a straight RFP.
Yeah, I agree.
Because we're also going to put in the criteria of our emissions, so it's not like we're not.
Yeah,
Right, exactly.
Okay, but the question was who was gonna be?
I mean, I would,
Was that gonna be?
if the committee wasn't, I'm okay with that, but I would request and not to put you on the spot, Michelle, that Michelle be a part of
Yeah,
that, because she
Yes, definitely.
she wrote ours.
Right.
Done.
So I
Yep,
think.
sure, happy to help.
I think we put it back, to the committee, and we'll invite Michelle to be part of it.
Yep, we can just call it like a workshop, RFP, RFI workshop. I'll get everyone the necessary planning documents. And we can kind of hash out our policy values and things like that. Does that sound,
Sounds good to me.
do we need a vote to say we're doing that? That's just what the ad hoc committee will do. Right. Cool,
So we don't need a vote for that.
I don't believe so. Okay, so.
Finance. Is that you, Chris, or?
No, that's.
Well, I still got one more thing on my end.
Okay,
report.
sorry.
So with the Galvin Housing Resources and Bard situation, as we know, Galvin Housing Resources owes us a loan that balloons in 2031.
Yeah.
That balloon loan is for $105,000, and the property, it's North Fifth Street. It's like 47 North Fifth Street, I believe. So I've been reaching out to Galvin and saying, is that part of that property transfer? If it is, they have to make due on that loan, I believe, even though it's not 2031. Before they
Can I
transfer.
ask, is there interest on that loan or was
No.
it interest rate?
No, it's built into the balloon loan, I believe. I don't know what the initial principal was, but
Is that recorded at the county?
the loan,
No.
We have the documentation that they, every year when we have an audit, we have to reach out to them that this loan is valid, they say this loan is valid. So that's the sort of stuff when I go to Galvin.
It's not a mortgage. It's not a mortgage, if that's the question, Logan.
It's not a mortgage.
It's not a mortgage, yeah.
No, it's a great, it was, I think it's on about that. Lloyd, please, Lloyd.
Time for public comment.
So hang on a second. It's not, so that if that property is part of the parcel that they are giving to Bart,
Mhm.
why would they have to pay off that loan before transferring it? And this, Chris, is really a question for you. Could they not transfer that to Bart and then Bart assumes responsibility for
Good question.
the loan?
Or is it written where we have to?
Hold on,
is it written that way?
So Chris, is this something where the loan, the debt or whatever, the liability with their property would just transfer to Bart? I mean, why would they have to pay it before transferring?
So the obligation says that it's due on sale or the
Okay.
2031 date, right? It's balloons in 2038, but if earlier, there were a couple of conditions. One of them is that they got additional money from a grant, and the other is if they sold the property.
So if the property is a gift, is that the same thing as some loan?
Transfer.
It's.
Well, somebody have to recoup that money because it's not free money, right? So either,
But if it's a gift and it's just transferred, this is my question for Chris. If it's transferred ownership, would the money be due then, or would it be when Bart potentially sells the property?
Well, again, there's no, so I don't know what the nature of the transaction with BART is, right? I don't know if they're conveying somehow just transferring the property, or if they're somehow transferring their entity. We don't know what the specifics of their transaction are, right? I don't think any of that's been made public. So I think I can't really answer the question without really understanding what they're doing, but I think Logan is doing the right thing by seeking information about whether this is part of the transaction, right?
Yeah,
And then also, Logan, when you get that information, if it is, ask about the specifics of the nature of the transaction.
yeah. So
Because I think Kamal's point about the difference between a sale and a gift is valid, because if I sell my house and it has a mortgage on it, I have to settle the mortgage before I sell.
Yeah.
But if I'm giving it, the person who takes it is just going to be liable for the mortgage.
yeah, so I've kind of been tapping a lot of people over there because Dan Kent was on some sort of vacation, but I eventually got him. And he said they're still in their due diligence period, so they don't know if, Bard is going to take that property. So I basically asked him what's the timeline on that due diligence period. And he said, he'd let us know as soon as.
I met with them a couple of months ago. It's a 3-month due diligence. And they don't really expect to have finalized things much before November.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is sale, not transfer in our communication with them. When we actually got into the loan for them, it says sale, not transfer.
It does.
Okay, so that's an interpretation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure both parties are aware that loan is connected to that property. I want Bard to know, and I want Alvin to know and not forget.
And it's a learning issue. Again, we'll make sure that every aspect.
Do you have the contact information for the CFO at Park?
No, but I would appreciate that. I just want everyone to kind of know we're over this. Okay, so that's kind of my update there. Nothing to vote on or anything, but I'll keep us updated. So bills, we got the 2 bills. Teresa and I went over the reconciliations. Balance report and profit and loss are posted online and sent to everyone.
so could I get the motion to pay the bills?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
And
So we're on old business?
yeah, because we didn't need a recommendation, or we didn't need a resolution for property disposition. Old business is floodplain outreach. I reached out to the building department at the engineer. They said they had no outstanding invoices with us. They're all paid. And I asked her, I want to get in writing, me and Teresa talked, that there will be no more bills. I'm waiting on that confirmation, but there's nothing else to do or anything like that. So that's my update there.
And I'll reach out to Paul Colarusso and let them know that, we're going to be returning some of that extra money, right?
Yeah, so there, as of right now, there is $1,068 left in that escrow account.
So when, it's trivial, but when you settle that, any interest that accrued, Hcdpa should keep.
No, this should be an escrow account, so there'd be no interest.
It does have a little bit of,
It did accrue interest.
It did?
yeah,
Yes.
So you
Well,
didn't put
yes.
it in there.
So you should always put it in an interest-bearing account, but the escrow agreement says that you aren't going to pay interest on it because you're going to apply, typically you're going to have to apply the interest to the account maintenance fees. So it's usually going to be a
So we
wash.
did put it into something called an escrow account. Yeah. And one of the things why I want them to put it in writing, because once, the company says, okay, we have no more bills, they can't come a month later and say, oh, we found a bill.
Mhm.
And then stop with that money to pay, because we've already returned the, and we were gonna ask if it was legal or viable, if we can maybe ask them to keep the rest to cover the legal costs. What did you think about that? Even though it wasn't part of our first contract with them, or initially $5,000, we would ask them, well, look, we did incur legal costs, and it almost was equal to what's left over. Could we keep that and pay, reimburse ourselves?
I don't think we can go backwards. If we didn't have it initially,
No, it's not backwards. It's
no, I'm just saying,
If it wasn't part of the initial agreement, we can't do it.
And why?
And also, if we were going to say, well, actually, you have to pay, I don't
No,
recall.
we're not, I'm
sorry.
let me make myself clear. We're asking, we're not saying we're gonna take it. We're asking, giving them a scenario that we did incur legal costs that we did not figure out in the beginning. And now that we know we did, and this is how much we incurred, would you be willing to pay that? And I don't think there's anything wrong with asking. They could say, no, we're not gonna do it, and it's all over. But if we don't ask, we won't know.
do we have a number? Do we have a number?
Oh, we can get it. It's easy.
yeah, so
She has an invoice for it. Very easy.
she separates,
She separated
Chris
Right.
separates the invoices for different matters she's dealing with in terms of legal costs.
Chris, what would be that process to make an amendment or revisit? Just ask them, we just do kind of a general letter, say, listen, there's X amount of dollars left over. We did incur these costs in making this. Is it possible that you can assist us in paying for our legal bills?
I mean, I guess HCDPA can ask for a donation, but you're going to have to make it clear that that is not a requirement and that it's,
Yes.
there's no conditions whatsoever that they
Yes.
do that. I mean, I don't advise it, but
I think it's foolish.
Yeah, I don't know.
When we had an agreement with them, they gave us the extra money in escrow, we got the work done, it's finished. And the cleanest thing is to simply, get back to them, the funds are used, keep the interest, that's it.
And again, I say, as long as it's nothing that can happen to us legally, and asking them and seeing if they agree or disagree, I don't have a problem with that. Because if you don't ask, you won't know. And that's all. I think it's worth asking.
I
know
think
that
it's
you may-
unprofessional.
You're not advising it, Chris, because of, could you give me a reason?
Teresa, that's a conversation that probably ought to be an attorney-client.
I mean, I just think it's bad practice.
Yeah, it's unprofessional.
After the fact, we're asking for the money. If we weren't cognizant of prior to, then that's on us.
Yeah.
Right? We, just because after the fact, there's money left over, so, oh, let's take that now. I just think it's bad practice.
Yeah.
And I can't sign.
Anybody else out of the 5 of us? I feel it's worth trying.
I said, it doesn't matter to me either way.
Same.
Just one additional with the floodplain that, I think we're still moving it. It hasn't gone through for yet, but by next year, it would be completed, and DPW superintendent will be in charge of the floodplain. So there would be no need to reassign it to an acting executive director.
So you need to stop being our director.
We just don't renew it, because it's gonna take a time frame, for some years, whatever, so we just don't renew it.
Sounds good. That big salary.
Yeah, I know, I'm gonna lose that money.
Yeah, that big salary that you were taking in as our executive director was
Yeah.
something.
Okay, we get new.
Okay, so I'm gonna rescind my thought, because, it doesn't matter to you two, and you two are definitely against it, then maybe we just won't do it. So I wanna make that, I don't want it to go unanswered, we just go along, so I rescind it.
So,
That money can move.
That's right. I am about asking, I don't mind going into the lion's den and saying, hey, is your mouth open? Do you got to?
so the last thing we have is, HTF stuff. Michelle, are you there? Did you want to go over this? I know you're sick.
I am here. Yeah, I just wanted to say that each month, the minutes and the video are up now, and they approved their recommended agenda. I know it's not everything to you guys very last minute because I'm out sick. We can go over it. Let me know if you have any questions, and then y'all can return to this in September.
Okay.
And then the Hudson Roots update is on there. And there's no HTF meeting in September, so just FYI.
Got it. Okay, so there is that. We can.
I just have one question for Michelle.
Okay.
So Michelle, both Dominic and I attempted to join your meeting, and neither one of us was able to get in. Do you have any idea what the issue was? We were joining from two different angles, and we were not able to get in. So do you have any idea what the problem was, and that's going to be a problem?
No, I don't, because we had other members of the public on, so I'm not sure what happened.
So, couple of things, because, got me an opportunity to review the bylaws for the housing trust funds. And I think that there's some things in the bylaws I think we need to reconsider for next year that are concerns for this year. I think one of them is that in the bylaws it states that no more than 9 and no less than 6 members. And that the 6 member that would include the quorum. So last couple meetings of the minutes that there were only 3 members present, and that doesn't constitute a quorum under 6. So I think that we need to look at that to see if that's an issue for next year, because as it stands, that right now those meetings that aren't legal. So I don't know if there's something that we can change for next year to make it more, or maybe invest in looking for members to fill those spots. Another thing is that the numbers of meetings is no less than 6. Right now, there's minutes that I read for only 3 meetings of this year. So is that another thing that maybe next year we move it quarterly rather than these meetings are not valid if they're according to our bylaws, that they're only, like I said, 3 meetings this year. 4 in August would be 4, September would be 5. December would be 5. So you're not going to meet that number this year either. So I think that those are 2 things for next year. We really need to make an addendum to see if those bylaws need to be adjusted. Also, there's going to be, I think, look at the membership to see who's going to be up in next year, to see how we could increase that if there's going to be some members that are fulfilling their obligation of their 4 years or 6 years. I don't know how many years it's been operated. I don't know, 6 years, some of the members from the beginning. So I think that we need to look at the bylaws and how to adjust it to make it work legally rather than what's going on now.
Okay, yeah, given the, so we have been meeting the meeting requirement each year in terms of the 6 meetings. This year, we've had 4, and then we'll have November, December. In terms of the quarterly, I like the idea. The only thing is that it benefits the Housing Trust Fund to kind of be a little more flexible when it meets, because it tends to be like heavier season of business, like around the fall and the beginning of the year. And then there's a little bit in terms of decision making in like the spring and like the early fall. So that I think is working the way it is. The membership, yeah, I noted. I think we can look at either the suggested about like finding some more interest or finding looking at the bylaws, whatever. Noted about that, and I think those were your. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, whatever helps work, the Housing Trust Fund will make it less concerning in terms of legalities, right? Because, if it's difficult to get the quorum or to be more flexible, to have the 6, meetings, but it makes it more flexible rather than quarterly, then yes. But, if you're, December is very hard. November, December is hard to make meetings, right? Because of the holidays, right? It's always been difficult for a lot of people because there's holidays that are right between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So to have, forced you to November, December because you got to make that last meeting, that's a lot of pressure. So I think having that flexibility, but what flexibility works for the Housing Trust Fund Board to make it, so you're not in that situation where you are right now.
Okay, I'll look at it and talk to the other committee members, see what their thoughts are. Thanks for bringing it up.
Great, thank you.
You just reading the bylaws on your leisure?
Excuse me?
You just reading the bylaws on your leisure?
Well, actually, that's another thing I want to bring up too, because in June I did the ABO meeting, so it made me relook a lot of different things. So if Logan doesn't have your current ABOs meetings, make sure Logan has that your current
ABO training, right? Yeah.
ABO training, have it
Every 2 years, I believe, right?
right every 2 years. Yep. So just give that to Logan so we can make sure by next meeting that it's good, so we ain't got to worry about, because we're going to be, that's part of the audit also too. So,
Yeah.
I do research on different things when it's brought to my thoughts patterns, and I think one of the things was when I missed the meeting last week and there was nothing posted. And another thing is that in the minutes, there's people that are attending online, but there's no justification for their online. A video, you have to say, I'm sick, whatever. There's nothing, there's just said online, where there should be documented why they're attending online and that they are video. So it's just accountability, and that's.
I don't know why you're explaining this to me. I just would want.
Because you asked.
I was wondering if you were reading on your leisure. That's all.
No,
Simple, yes.
I take my job serious. So.
But there was a time where you couldn't use your video, right? Online, it wasn't working or something. Wasn't Formy on a meeting one time when somebody wanted to see, I think it was you wanted to see his face, and you said it wasn't working.
No, and last week.
No, I'm just asking.
And last week, because of my screen reader, I couldn't use it, and I made it clear why I couldn't use it. It was and I made it public, and I didn't vote on anything.
Exactly.
And it was a quorum present, so it didn't affect the meeting.
So yeah, if there was a time. Thank you. That was it.
You state where
I gotcha, but it didn't.
No.
Okay, it didn't work. So. it's good Friday.
Okay,
Okay, one of the things I want to bring up, are we still in our meeting?
yeah,
We have to have a finance meeting. This is something that we required to do, and we haven't been able to do it. So I want to propose a date where the finance committee have a meeting. And we're going to invite our auditor to that meeting so we can go over some of the things that they're excited and what can we do to correct those things. So who is the finance committee again?
I think it's the same as our new property disposition, isn't it?
Yes,
I believe
Is
so.
is it?
so we can do it two ways. We can do it like the IDA does, right?
Like who?
Like the IDA does.
IDA?
Oh,
IDA.
yeah, okay, I like. Okay.
So
Gotcha.
we can have the finances during our regular meeting and just break it out. And so,
I kind of like it to be separate. I mean, can we do it by Zoom?
no,
Three of us? Me,
no, it has to be public.
that's been
Public.
We've done some public presence.
Yeah,
And for quorum, yeah, we've talked about they have to video be there. But you
You
have to
have
have
to
a
have
city
physical
hall.
presence before.
We could just, I think Dominic Daniels, the way IDA does it, works fine. We're all here anyway, and
well,
Right.
I just put up that I think that we need to be separate because I want to invite the, auditor.
We could do the same thing. We do the same thing when we break out. We can invite the auditor during our finance meeting.
I'm gonna need a separate day, because on these meetings on this Thursday, sleep Thursday, and it's 5 o'clock. This is about the only time that I have for this meeting today. And I have to come early to, come early. And I'm not gonna have the, time. Let's get a date and see.
so,
if we can do that. So when is the next meeting? When is our next,
Teresa, let me just explain how IDA works. You don't.
I know how IBA work. I used to be on the board, and I just gave that.
It doesn't work.
to somebody else.
I mean, we would meet at 5, finance would break out from 5 to 5:20, 5:30, down the group would.
Margaret, I know exactly what you're saying. I'm just saying it's not what I have intended to do.
So the next Hcdpa meeting is September 25th, as
Okay,
scheduled.
that's a Thursday.
Yep.
So your suggestion, you and Margaret's suggestion is that we meet like at 4 for the, is that what you're saying?
No.
No, what are you saying?
We meet,
At 5.
HCV meeting starts, we break into finance.
Okay.
And then the good thing about that, Mark, Teresa, everyone's here, right? So, and it's already scheduled meeting, so we just break it, we put it on the agenda, we break it off into finance, we close the HCV meeting, we go to finance, we do whatever we need to finance, bring whoever we need to discuss finance. When that's done, we close finance. The good thing about that, if there's a decision that we need to make, we can make that right there, right?
Okay, so the other two people that are not in the finance committee,
We just sit here.
they stay here?
Yeah, we sit here.
Come
Well,
on.
it's a regular meeting anyway.
Okay.
You've been to IDA,
I would
definitely.
definitely rather to be separate.
Yeah, been to IDA, so you know how it works.
I would rather to be separate. I mean, it's up to the committee. I would like to have a similar day separate from the meeting so that we can, at least for the first one. For the first one.
The other thing, since we are gonna have another ad hoc property dispossession meeting,
Mhm.
you could tie it in there too. So 2 separate, because it's E3 and me.
Okay.
The other thing for getting availability typically works, if you send an email, give a date, and everyone can kind of check their calendar, respond in that email.
Let me
Yes,
get
no.
more.
Yeah, to get people kind of.
Okay, so, we don't have to vote on this.
No. I just have to give notice for these meetings. It has to be a week out.
So I would like it to be separate from our regular meeting.
So, if you wanna send an email with the members and me,
Okay, I'm gonna go through my calendar and say.
pick out 1 or 2 or whatever dates, and then, we can
And
all
we're
respond.
also gonna, our date will coincide with the auditor, because I would like to invite her.
Yeah, we can invite her. Also, one thing I haven't ready, the audit pages, they have kind of the things that they call out.
Yes,
So I can send that to you again. It starts on page 22, and I'll put that in the email, so you can kind of have that foreknowledge baked in.
and hope that, we can correct everything before we end this year and definitely not carry it on to next year.
Okay, so we're at public comment.
Well, thank you. Pleasure to be here with you, kind folks. So I'm just curious about the appraisals you were talking, is that online?
Yeah.
So that's online, so that's boards and meetings,
Yep.
HD.
Hcdpa,
So
And then go
is
to-
that a hard time finding how we navigate? It's
Yep.
like boards and meetings, or is it departments, HCDPA, and then boards and meetings?
can you say that's, so
I have to look.
I'll go
I
to,
appreciate
It
it,
would be under boards and meetings if we're a board.
yeah.
right?
So I'm at the Hcdpa, now I go to agendas.
They would back over a little bit.
Okay.
Takes me a second to get my eyes to focus. I appreciate this. So it's CDPA
Yeah,
agendas.
now we're going to agendas.
Okay, beautiful. Oh, there you go.
And so today we're at August 28th. Here it is.
Oh, beautiful, okay.
Yep.
I gotta do more, okay,
I'll give you the page numbers of the properties we're talking about.
great, okay.
They're 2, 37, 59. I can repeat that later.
237.
And
15. That might be nice to read the whole thing if I got time, but
You're welcome.
it's too much. I think that's about it, let's see. And these other meetings are to the public, the finance and the property.
Yeah.
And that's over, you know. Okay, that's about it.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
On favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Bye, thank you.